Good evening and welcome to the programme with me, Louisa Preston. With thousands of people dying prematurely every year in London because of air pollution, the Mayor is determined to tackle the problem, and today he outlined plans to introduce the so-called T-charge. Drivers of some of the oldest and dirtiest vehicles will be charged an extra £10 on top of the congestion charge to come into central London. It will affect about 10,000 vehicles every weekday, but many say it doesn't go far enough. Our political correspondent Carl Mercer reports.
So my name is Sadiq Khan, I'm the Mayor of London. What's your name?
Signed up at an early age to the Mayor's anti-pollution agenda, but tackling London's air quality will need more than posters. So today we learned of City Hall's new steps. First, of course, we had the congestion charge. 13 years on, the toxicity charge is coming. Later this year, drivers of the most polluting cars will have to dig deeper. The new charge will come in on October the 23rd. Older vehicles will be charged £10 on top of the current congestion charge of £11.50, meaning they'll pay £21.50 to come into central London. It's estimated 10,000 vehicles a day would currently be hit by the new charge, although City Hall says it thinks 4,000 of those will stop coming into town.
I've deliberately not done this overnight. Notwithstanding my big election victory last May, I've had two separate consultations. 65% of Londoners want me to take bold action. That's why I'm not doing this overnight. It'll be from October the 23rd, the T-charge, and from 2019, subject to further consultation, the ultra-low emission zone. Come on, squeeze it, everybody, come on, who's got in? There's space over there, there's space over there.
I know when I walk to school, I can just inhale the toxic fumes and you feel it, you really do.
We need to try and contain this. This is one of the world's mega cities. We can't have issues like this.
Support here today, but also some key questions for the Mayor.
For some people, maybe that small charge can be something that they can't afford, they can't cope with every day. Those who are just getting by, those who are just surviving, those who just about manage to have a car anyway in the first place, that sort of, I don't know, £10, whatever the charge will be, it can be really damaging to some people.
There's another issue too, that of what comes out of cars. Although the Mayor is targeting vehicles around 10 years old, even some new cars will be just as polluting. Their emissions on the road very different to those in test conditions.
This raises awareness, and that's a really good thing. The fact that we're putting information out into the public domain so that consumers can make good choices, that's a good thing. And I think pressure needs to be put on the manufacturers to ensure that the technologies that they have in the vehicles actually perform on the road as they do in the lab.
City Hall says the so-called T-charge is just one part of its efforts to tackle pollution, a campaign the Mayor has put at the top of his agenda. Carl Mercer, BBC London News.
Well, joining me now is Simon Alcock from ClientEarth, which campaigns on issues affecting the environment. Simon, thanks very much for joining us this evening. Do you think this goes far enough?
Well, we think it's a good start. We think it's essential if we're going to start protecting Londoners' health, but we actually think it could go further. We think it should include more diesel cars, because some of the cars that aren't included are polluting more than some of the ones that are included. So we think it's a good start, but could go further.
Do you think there is a case for maybe banning these cars altogether?
I don't think an immediate ban is the right thing to do, but ultimately we need to phase out the dirtiest cars from our streets. If we're going to do that, then people are going to need the incentives and support to switch to cleaner vehicles, and that's where we need the government to step up.
I mean, some would say that it's actually targeting people that, you know, poorer people in society, because they can't afford the modern cars, so then what are they going to do? And then they're going to be penalised for coming into the city.
Well, that's where government has a role. For instance, they could introduce a scrappage scheme. So, for instance, in Los Angeles, they do that where the poorest people are given a grant to scrap their dirty car and buy a cleaner car, and it's worked really well there. So I think we should be able to do that here if they can do it there. But also we know that some of the poorest people are affected the most by air pollution in our city because they live on the busiest roads. So we've really got to start tackling this public health crisis.
What do you think needs to be done when it comes to construction vehicles? You know, some of those large vehicles, obviously we have the ultra-low emission zone, but does that go far enough?
The ultra-low emission zone is crucial really to solving London's air pollution crisis. We think it should be brought in 2019, so a year earlier, and we think it should cover the Greater London area, so there's no hotspots outside it that are missed off from that. The Mayor's currently planning to do that and consult on that, so we'll see what the details are, but it's essential if we're going to tackle this public health crisis in London.
Simon Alcock, thanks very much for coming in this evening. Well, if you'd like to know whether you'll be affected by the charge